Hey everyone, what's after? A little bit of an update from me. You might have seen on social media, following on from the update I did on the channel last week, that I've got coronavirus, which has been just horrible, to be perfectly honest. A few people have been asking me just to do an update or whatever and just talk a little bit about it. Look, those who know, I don't like moaning or complaining, which is why I've not done too much on it. But just to be perfectly frank on it, it's just been horrible. It's been a very, very horrible time. It's been about 12 days now since I first started to feel a little bit sick, but I am happy to report that today is probably the best I've felt in that entire time. I have a couple of false dawns. The last video I did on the channel, I was quite optimistic that I'd turned the corner and I was on the mend, and then I absolutely fell off a cliff in the days that followed that, and felt probably worse than I had done up until that point, which was mad and really disheartening at the same time. So just to give you a little bit of a chat on the time scale of things. So we're going back 12 days to like the very first signs, which of course I didn't recognise at the time, was like a mild, very, very mild but persistent headache, which I attributed to stress, going through a lot of stuff obviously in the wider world. You're worried for the safety of your family, you're worried for the long-term safety of your business and all those kind of things, and a lot of those things. And look, it's mad to think that only like 12 days ago the biggest concern was whether Liverpool were going to win the league or not, or whether it was going to be cancelled. I thought that was the biggest problem I had in my life, and I was like, oh my god, I thought that's the big key issue for me. How am I going to live in a world where Liverpool might not be able to win the title or whatever? And I'll be honest, the last week or so has put everything into stark contrast. But no, so I had the headache, and then that was the Friday, and then the Saturday I started to feel gradually worse during the day, but it felt flu-y, where you feel weak. You can kind of get on, but you can also, if you were given the option to just stop, you'd feel loads better for it. But I was okay, I had a little bit of I'm having a bit of a nap late on the Saturday and feeling not too bad, and I still went out and socialised and sat on the Saturday night, which is just, again, in hindsight, is completely stupid. But you're so used to, I think you're so conditioned to press on this idea of manning up or whatever, and getting over things and getting over minor illnesses. We all do it. We're all trained to do that. When you're self-employed or when you work for a business and the buck stops with you, that's what you've got to do. You can't just call a sickie. You need to get involved. You need to get up and get on with it. When you've got kids, you can't stop. You've got to keep going because the kids need you. And when in a relationship, that's what happens. So, in hindsight, what a moron I was, but obviously I'm sure lots and lots of us have been in those situations in the past. But this is the thing, the world's changed now. Those old situations where we were commended for pushing on and getting on with our lives in the face of feeling a little bit under the weather or whatever, those rules don't apply anymore. So anyway, it got to the Sunday and I felt absolutely horrendous, and that was when full flu-like symptoms, weak, achy, all my muscles just felt like they were constantly just like, kind of like, when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like you've got a proper grip or whatever. Really felt like my whole body been at the limits of grip for 24 hours, and I had a cough at that point, started to have a little bit of a high temperature as well. Just felt absolutely utterly dreadful. And anyone who's had the flu will know it's up there with the worst thing. One of the most, next door neighbour's dog. Hey Bobby. One of the worst things you can have in a very general sense. We all get the flu, a lot of us get it maybe once a year or whatever, or once every couple of years, and it absolutely knocks you for six. And to be honest, at that point it still very much felt like that. Now what happened in the days after that was my sister was tested positive for coronavirus, who I've been with over the weekend and in the lead up to it as well. Which, when I got to like Wednesday, which I think was when I did the last update on this channel, and I felt like I was starting to turn the corner a bit, the flu-like symptoms were dying down a bit, I was up and about, I felt loads better, and I thought, okay, well, looks like maybe it's not it, maybe I've just had the flu and just got over it. And then the Thursday morning, in fact, I even got up again and felt fine. I was active, I was out with the kids and whatever, and then that afternoon, absolutely, again, fell off a cliff, and that's when I started having breathing troubles and the more archetypal coronavirus symptoms, as it were. Really hard to take a full deep breath. Even when I was taking a breath, it didn't feel like I was getting enough oxygen into my body for the breaths that I was taking, which is a really subtle thing at first. It's not like you go to gasping for breath. It's just, you just don't feel. It's weird. It feels like you just... It sounds really dramatic, but it feels like you're suffocating in slow motion, like over a really drawn up bit, like the air is being slowly but surely, like percent by percent, being drained out of the room, as opposed to going from 100% to 0%. It's really subtle and it creeps up on you. And it got to the point where Thursday night, I think it was Thursday night, I felt absolutely and utterly shocking. Was on the phone to 111, was on hold for 2 hours to get to speak to someone. They finally put me through to someone else who finally gave me a call back and went through it and basically said, well, look, unless you are not able to talk and you're struggling to get your words out, there's very little that they can do for you at this point. And that's the real reality of the situation we're in right now, is that there must be, there's a number of cases being reported that people have got it. The numbers of them must be, I worked it out, and this is just obviously, look, I'm not a doctor, take everything I say with a pinch of salt, and also know that there's a variety of symptoms and people will experience this thing in completely different ways, of course. This is just my personal experience of it, but if my sister's got it and I've got it, and then both of us are in lockdown in our individual houses, so there's 4 of us in our house, there's 3 of them in her house, that stands to reason that most likely that after 14 days everyone in those houses will have it as well. So that's 7 people who've got it, but only one of those people has taken an actual test and been tested positive. So you're talking about what, 7 times the amount of people, and that's just on a very limited kind of scale. But it was mad, and it's really disheartening because you feel so helpless. You feel so sick. You feel it became impossible for me to get up and down the stairs just to go to the toilet without feeling catastrophically out of breath and lightheaded and head spinning and not being able to take a deep breath and having those really deep coughs as well. It was just utterly horrible. And in addition to that, obviously my wife and kids have not been as full blown as me, but have also had ups and downs. Kids have had fevers for a bit and gone down for half a day and then bounced back. My wife has been an absolute trooper, has been keeping us all going, but I think is gradually running herself into the ground, not having extreme symptoms but having similar symptoms: sinus pain behind the eyes, completely lost the taste of sense of taste and smell, which is being reported at the moment as one of the things. It's absolutely insane. And we've managed to get through. Mercifully, we're lucky that Chris wasn't in isolation. He went out and did some shopping for us in the week, and it got really bad around the Thursday Friday mark, and then it slowly but surely started to come back around to the point where today's Tuesday, and I woke up feeling good. Is the only way I can describe it, for the first time in a very, very long time. Still got a shortness of breath, still hard to take a full deep breath and what have you, but I don't feel absolutely laid low by the symptoms anymore. And as I say, that's pretty much 12 days there or thereabouts. I might have had a headache before I first thing, but you don't really think about it unless it's really pervades into your life kind of thing. But what a mad and horrible situation to be. But ultimately what I'm kind of saying is that I am hopefully coming out the other side of it. They have said that the virus symptoms can take up to 3 weeks to fully dissipate, but it's mad. Loads of people saying, have you been tested? The government are testing people. They're not. They're only testing people who need to be admitted to hospital, which is absolutely fair, because obviously the real crisis around this is going to be the people who need to be in intensive care, the people who are desperately in need of severe treatment for severe symptoms. All I've been at is probably the top end of the mild symptoms, the stay at home and deal with it, which is a horrible thing to live with, when you know that there's nothing you can do other than take paracetamol and basically lie still for days and days on end and just hope that it passes. But yeah, we're in a crazy situation, and obviously we now know that Boris Johnson went on TV last night and has effectively put the country into lockdown. This is one of those times where kind of political leanings or whatever go out the window. Any prime minister would have done this. There's an argument that a better prime minister might have done this a little bit sooner. For whatever reason, they've decided to leave it this long. But if you're thinking of going out and you're thinking of doing, going into situations where there's going to be loads of people there, just don't do it. I would not wish what I've gone through on my worst enemy. And I have been basically laid low, unable to get out of bed for the vast majority of the last 12 days, and they are by all accounts mild, albeit high end, but mild conditions. If you're susceptible to breathing issues or whatever, or the old or the infirm, or people who've got long-standing immunodeficiencies, etc., you're doing it for them. There's all people we don't like in this world, and I genuinely would not want to see anyone have to go through it, even, as I say, the relatively mild conditions. I'm probably going to be all right now in the coming days. I'll probably be back to 100% health. The lockdown's going to end for us at the end of this week, or at least for me certainly, and hopefully I'll have a degree of immunity, which means I'll be able to go out into the world where we're not allowed to go out into the world. It will be nice to be able to go and experience, the world beyond. I'm lucky we've got a garden. We're very, very lucky in that regard. But to be able to go out and see the rest of the world would be very nice. But honestly, if you haven't had it, or you're feeling even mild symptoms, I didn't think it could possibly be me. And there'll be loads of people for whom this hasn't affected. Now we're in a situation now where we've had people test positive in our immediate family, in our immediate vicinity, and I've gone through it myself. So it's mad that it's a real thing for me. For a lot of people, this won't feel like a real thing. This is going to feel like I feel like an abstract concept. It's going to feel like something you're just seeing on the news, and we all feel like that at times. There's a detachment when you're just seeing things on the news, or you're seeing things on Twitter. You've got the American president who's effectively still peddling that whole more people die in car crashes than die of this kind of stuff. I saw someone saying, there's only some kid out. It was on a Joe video saying there's only 200,000 people worldwide who've got it. Like, the numbers have doubled since that video went out at the weekend. It's insane. And again, come back to what I'm saying before. People aren't being tested in this country, so there's going to be, by a factor, and again, just based on my very, very simple math, which isn't to be taken to heart, but it's just a base indication. The number of people who likely got it just in my family is 7 times more than have been tested positive for it. So I can't even begin to imagine what it's like on a global scale. Really, in particular, this country should do just stay at home. Stay at home, keep your loved ones close. Don't follow the guidelines. We don't like following guidelines. We don't like being told what to do in this country, least of all in Liverpool, by the way. But honestly, I can't stress this enough. Stay away. Keep yourselves healthy, keep yourselves away from it all if possible, and if you feel even mild symptoms, I'm sorry, the old rules of just press through don't apply anymore. Stay the fuck away from other human beings to the best of your ability, and hopefully we'll come through this. But this is early doors. This is the first couple of weeks of it. It's going to be a mad, scary time, and there's very little that we can physically do about it. We can't tackle it. There is no cure. There's just being sensible and doing things that go against the way that society has raised us to be, which is a very unusual thing. But the reality is what the reality is, unfortunately. Listen, I'm feeling a bit better. I'm going to start. I know it doesn't matter on the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, what I do, and I mentioned, like, it's a weird time to be a content creator, because that's who I am and that's how I live my life. I felt very weird on being on lockdown and not being able to be up and about and doing things and capturing things and talking to people. And I built the success of the channels and stuff that I've raised about people being in the same room together, talking about playing games, talking about football, going to football, doing all these activities. To be able to not do that's weird, but it's a brave new world. There's all kinds of great things out there. Chris Pajak's got a Boss YouTube channel, which you should definitely go and check out. Steve Hall's got a Boss YouTube channel, which you should check out. James Alcott's got a Boss YouTube channel, which you should check out. Loads of my mates, loads of people starting them up. Support creators, support local businesses from afar if you can. Order your food in. The Tavern Company where me and Chris used to work is doing deliveries in Liverpool for fresh food or whatever. But ultimately, stay safe. Hopefully I'll be back to full power. Hopefully we'll be back to making some fun stuff and just keeping us all distracted in the coming days, weeks and months. But the most important message, is listen to advice, probably for the first time in our lives, and everyone stay safe. Love you guys, take it easy. And if you want more from me, and if you want to support what I'm doing through this, you don't have to, but if you can, head to patreon.com/Maych, M-A-Y-C-H. Become a patron. It helps to support the channel, and I'm definitely going to need it in the coming weeks and months by the looks of it, as we're going to be very much stuck in this together, aren't we? Nice one, guys. Ta-ra.